using our knowledge of Beowulf to help us write a powerful battle scene for Theseus and the Minotaur. Yesterday you sequenced part of the battle scene, and we are going to use that along with our descriptions from last week to help us with our writing today. First of all, we're going to have a little look at the grid. So we need to be using long and short sentences to add a variety of our sentence structure for effect. Remember, you really want to be in this green bit here. And we need to use the language to build suspense. And we're going to do that through those hyphenated adjectives and through magpieing the original text. Your handwriting needs to be legible and joined. You need to be thinking about the consistent verb tenses and a range of punctuation along with your spelling. Okay, so first of all, let's have a little look at what happened in the sequencing. So, the first thing to happen was that Ariadne gave Theseus the ball of string, and she leads Theseus to the entrance of the maze. I'm going to be using some words I've magpied from your writing and some magpied sentences from Miss Conlon, along with ideas from the original text to help me write it. So to start with, I need to get across that Ariadne is going to give Theseus the ball of string, and she's going to lead Theseus towards the maze. I'm also going to want to introduce that Theseus is very brave, he's very determined, and I'm going to want to show that he's actually going to fight the Minotaur, to give the reader the idea of why he's going in. I want to make sure I don't just say Ariadne gives Theseus a string, and I want to get across how dangerous this is. So, not knowing, let's see if this is going to catch up, not knowing if she would see him again, because I want to be quite dramatic here, if she would see him again. Ariadne handed Theseus a ball of string to guide him out of a deadly maze. I want to get across how dangerous this is. And she led him to the entrance. Now I'm going to magpie some words from the original text now, and I want to show how determined he is. And I want to get across the fact that the Minotaur is deadly. He kills people. He's not a nice person. He's evil. He's horrible. So, determined that the giver, of death and destruction would become the receiver, at last. Theseus entered the labyrinth ready to defeat. And here I'm going to introduce Minotaur, and I want you to know that the Minotaur is bloodthirsty, he kills people, and I'm going to magpie some words. And if I have a little look in my word bank here, I've got bloodthirsty and I've got death dealing. So I'm going to use some of those here. So he wants to defeat the bloodthirsty. And you can see here I'm using those hyphenated adjectives. The bloodthirsty, death dealing Minotaur. I apologise for my typos. Okay, so that's really getting across. It's building that character of Minotaur. I'm just setting that scene. what the Minotaur is like. Now, we also know that actually this maze is quite terrifying within itself, which is why he's got the string. Okay, so I want to describe what that's like, and I'm going to go to Miss Conlon's ideas now. She's got a lovely sentence here. If I go up to the top, high grey stone walls gave the dark, dank labyrinth a menacing feel, and I want to use that now. So, and I also want to show that the maze wants to trap him in there. Okay, so closing in around him were the high grey stone walls, which gave the dark, dank labyrinth a menacing feel. And Theseus is going to be scared, so he's going to move quite slowly. And I'm going to start with the adverbial slowly to make it interesting. Rather than Theseus moved slowly, I'm going to manipulate my sentence structure and I'm going to have slowly. Theseus. And it just adds that emphasis on the word slowly. Edged along the cold granite walls. And I want to show that the maze is quite a cold place to be in, which is why I've chosen that word cold to describe the granite walls. And I want to now describe how he's feeling, and rather than just saying he's scared, because obviously although he's very brave, he is going to be scared, I want to do this through his actions, and that's what you did last Wednesday. So here you put some of the actions in, show how he's moving, which would reflect how he feels. So he's edging along the cold granite walls, his sword tightly gripped in his clenched fingers. And then I want to think about his mouth. So his mouth dry. And also when we're feeling scared or worried, we're going to be quite tense. I'm going to have his muscles tensed. His heart, obviously when you're worried, your heart is going to be pounding. His heart pounding. And sometimes if we're nervous, we get quite hot and flustered. And droplets of sweat trickled down his spine. And then I want to create a feel for what it's like as he's going through that maze, how horrible, how unbearable it is. So the smell, no, I'm not going to use smell, I can think of a better word than that, the stench. The stench, that's a good synonym to use, okay? It gives more power, more meaning behind it. The stench of blood, sweat and rotting flesh. Oh, make it sound a bit yuck. Rotting flesh was overwhelming. And I want to get across here that actually most people, it would turn their stomachs, they'd walk away, they'd be too scared to carry on, but he's not. Okay, so it was overwhelming and would have been enough to discourage. Would have been enough to discourage anybody else, any other man. Many men, but not Theseus, and this really shows how brave he is. Okay, and I want to now go across to how I want to emphasise how brave he is. And so I'm going to look now, because actually he's fearless. And I don't want to say the fearless Theseus, because I've already used Theseus. So the fearless, and I'm going to have a little look at some other words we could use for Theseus. And I've got a lovely hyphenated adjective there. The fearless, lion-hearted. That really shows how brave he is, because lions are brave. And I think at this point he's really heroic, so I'm going to go with hero, which is also on my word bank down at the bottom there, just here. So the fearless, lion-hearted hero. And that's what I'm going to start. So this fearless, lion-hearted hero was fiercer now than ever. As he's getting closer, he's getting stronger and fiercer and more determined to kill him, okay? Because the adrenaline is going to start pumping through his body. And now he's going to be getting closer. So, as he got close to that, and I don't want to say Minotaur again, so to the beasts, because I'm trying to get this viewpoint across. He is really strong and powerful. And he's a creature, he's not a human. The beast's lair. He could hear the murderous. I want a strong, powerful adjective which really describes and tells you a lot about him. I don't want to use Minotaur again. I don't want to use beast. I've just used beast. So I'm going to look for another word here, and I can see I've got ogre, and I'm going to use ogre under my list of words for Minotaur. He could hear the murderous ogre. And that murderous ogre is going to be breathing heavily. He's such a big monster. You can hear him breathing heavily. And at this point, I want to also get across that actually he's waiting for his feast. He's sitting there thinking, yeah, I'm going to have a lovely feast in a minute. And he's getting hungrier for this feast and thirstier. As he lay thirsty, and what he's actually thirsty for is his next flesh-filled feast. He lay thirsty for his next flesh-filled feast. Again, I've got that hyphenated adjective in to move that text along. Now, the first time he's going to see the Minotaur, he's going to meet Minotaur. So, as he's going to do it, he's going to creep, because he doesn't want to be heard. Theseus crept, and the maze is full of corners, so crept around the corner. And I want to show that this Minotaur is huge, and there, towering above him, was the vile creature. And I could leave that there, but the reader hasn't met the Minotaur yet, so I want to give some really good description to build that picture in my reader's mind. So, creature and I've taken some of these words from your ideas, your descriptions, especially somebody in my class, they'll know who they are because they'll remember writing them. And I did tell them I was going to Magpie. With sweat-soaked fur. As well as his sweat-soaked fur, I want to describe other parts of his body that are really going to give that picture of him. He's got blood-curdling eyes. Blood-curdling eyes and razor-sharp, spiky horns. And it's really important that the reader knows we've got horns, because later on Theseus is going to be grabbing those horns. So at this point, let's go back to our sequencing, and we know that now the Minotaur is going to spot Theseus. So why would the Minotaur turn around? Okay, he hasn't heard him, but we know that he's going to have a strong sense of smell, especially when it comes to flesh. And I'm going to magpie some ideas from the original text here, scenting the sweet flesh, the hate filled, and I don't want to say creature again, so I'm going to go with monster this time. So it's another word for creature. Monster turned around, ready to meet his next victim. And I want to go a bit further, I want to dig a bit deeper with what the Minotaur looks like, and I want to express how he feels through that. So I want to show that he's quite angry. So rather than say the Minotaur was angry, I'm going to start my sentence with an interesting starter, and it really adds emphasis. Temper raging. It's adding emphasis to how angry he is. Eyes bulging, and obviously your eyes bulge when you get angry. Eyes bulging, nostrils flaring. Breathing heavy, and that reflects that heavy breathing from before. The Minotaur stood firm. He thought this challenge would be as easy as the others. We know it's not. He's thinking it's easy, and all he's thinking about at the moment is flesh tearing and bone crunching. So I'm going to have a little look now at Miss Conlon's ideas to see how I can get that across. As his thoughts turned to flesh tearing and bone crunching, great goblets of saliva dripped from his razor-like jaws. I love that. That really shows how much he wants to eat that flesh, how savage he is, how hungry he is, how bloodthirsty he is. So as his thoughts turned, it also gives us an indication of what he would do. He would tear flesh and crunch bones. Turned to flesh tearing and bone crunching. Great goblets, and they would be great because he's so colossal himself. His saliva would obviously be massive as well. Goblets of saliva. They're going to drip down. So let me go back just to remind myself of that lovely sentence. Dripped from his razor-like jaws. Dripped from his razor-like jaws. And that shows how strong, razor sharp jaws. I'm going to change that to razor sharp jaws. And then I've got my hyphenated adjectives in there as well. Now, he's quite a beast at this point. So, with wild eyes, and we know at this point, if we go back to our sequencing from yesterday, that the Minotaur is going to start trying to attack Theseus, and he's going to lunge towards Theseus at this point. Okay, so he's going to start this attack, and I really want to get across to the reader how savage this beast is and how gruesome the fight is. So with wild eyes, full of hatred, because he's so angry, he's not a kind person, He's very hateful. The manslayer, so that I'm not using those same nouns to describe him, I'm not being repetitive, lunged forward, focused on grabbing Theseus, and he obviously thinks this is going to be easy, and he's got in his mind that he's going to grab Theseus by the neck. And let's have a think about what he would do once he's grabbed him by the neck. He'd probably snap his neck very quickly, very violently. So by the neck and snapping it with a quick but violent twist. It's quite easy for him. You find that quite easy just to twist his neck. Twist. It's almost effortless for him. That's what he thinks, at least. That's what he's got in his mind. But actually, we know that this isn't going to be the case. We know that Theseus is strong. And I want I've done some really long sentences, and now I want a short, snappy sentences to just say that Theseus was strong, he wouldn't move, he was tenacious. But Theseus was tenacious. And he's not scared. I don't want to say Theseus is not scared. I want to use a different word for Theseus, and I want to use an adjective to describe him. So this warrior is a nice word to describe Theseus, and he's so strong, iron-willed. There we go. So this iron-willed warrior was not scared. Scared isn't a very interesting one. Perhaps I could change that. So a synonym for scared would perhaps be intimidated. He wasn't intimidated. This iron-willed warrior was not easily intimidated. Sorry for any typos. He was not easily intimidated by the vile, vengeful, just trying to think of a different word that I've not used recently to describe him, sort of creature, maybe beast. I'm just looking at what I've used. Monster, vengeful monster, and all this monster has got on his mind is that he wants to destroy Theseus, so intent on destroying him. Now we know that Theseus is going to start fighting back now. And if I go to this bit here, we know that Theseus is going to start grabbing him by the horns. He's going to slash the Minotaur with his sword. He's going to plunge his sword into the Minotaur, and the Minotaur is going to die. He is going to defeat him. Okay, so at this point, the Minotaur isn't going to be able to stop Theseus from clambering onto his back. The Minotaur is going to slash and thrash. He's going to do anything he can. So despite slashing and thrashing, he's with all his might. The Minotaur could not prevent Theseus from clambering onto his back. And much like in Beowulf, as that monster knew he was being defeated, he was getting angry and he was getting scared. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to magpie those ideas. Anger filled this cold-blooded killer as he realised this man's grip was stronger than anything he had ever known. And of course that's going to anger him. He is used to beating everybody, so of course this is going to anger him. And actually he's also going to start to feel scared. So filled with sudden fear, and I've magpied that from the original text, the beast thrashed and struggled to free himself. But, and as we know, but Theseus grabbed hold of one of his horns, and he's going to be holding it really tightly, and held it with a tight grip. I want to show that actually it's getting tighter and tighter. So with an ever tightening grip, that shows that actually the more he struggles, stronger it's going to be. And now the reader needs to know, actually this is the first time this has happened. We've never had a violent wrestle like this. So never before had there been such a violent, and I think I've spoken about defeating, we've spoken about battles. Actually they are wrestling. Never before has there been such a violent wrestling in the passages, because I want to remind my reader that we are in passages, we're in a maze, and that maze is dark, and there's only going to be a little bit of light, and the light that there is possibly from a torch. So passages of the torch lit labyrinth. Just to remind our reader where we are. Now I want to think about those noises that we're going to be able to hear. So the thunderous roaring and screeching cries of the opponents bounced off the walls. There's nowhere for this sound to go because they're so enclosed. Bounced off the walls. It gives you that bit more information, and it gives those thunderous roars an action. They're doing something, they're bouncing off of walls. Now, Theseus knows he's got to act quickly. He cannot hesitate. He's got to be brave, he's got to be ruthless here. So, without hesitation, because I want to start my sentences in interesting ways. Oh, typo. Without hesitation, the courageous, because I don't want to use brave again, I want to use the more interesting word. The courageous, and I could say warrior, but I've used warrior, so let me have a little look. Athenian, because we know he's from Athens. Athenian. Reached for his sword. And slashed the creature. And actually when I come back to edit and improve, that might be a sentence that I just add a little bit more detail to, and I might discuss how he slashed the creature and how he's reaching for his sword. That's, I think, the more interesting verb than reached. And I want to now think, when he's reached for his sword, he's slashed the creature, what will happen next? So obviously the mind talk is going to bleed. And I want to have a little look at one of Miss Conlon's sentences. She's got a lovely one here, and it's got very interesting stuff because it actually starts with a simile. Like an erupting volcano, and I especially like the like an erupting volcano because It's almost like the Minotaur. His feelings are erupting. He's angry, he's fierce, and there's a lot of feelings bubbling away at the surface. So like an erupting volcano, the scarlet fluid, rather than red, exploded very much like a volcano would explode, very much like this anger is exploding. So I'm going to use this sentence here. So like an erupting volcano, the scarlet fluid exploded from the wound caused by Theseus's, by the insertion of Theseus's sword. And now he's going to pull that sword from the wound, and he's going to immediately use it. He knows he's got to use it immediately. He knows he can't hesitate, and he's got one chance to do this because he needs to defeat the Minotaur while he's weak, while he's got this slash. So I'm going to start with all of his strength. With all of his strength. So I imagine that sword would be quite hard to get out. With all of his strength, Theseus pulled the sword from the wound, and he's got to do it quickly, and immediately he's going to use it to plunge it into the torso. Used it to plunge into the torso of the callous monster. Now, at this point, obviously, the Minotaur is going to be screaming, he's going to be crying, he's going to be crying in pain, and that, because he's such a big creature, it's going to be loud. You're going to be able to hear it from miles. So the anguished cries of the, I could just say beast, but I want to show that actually he is no longer in power. So of the defeated beast could be heard from the royal palace. And now, obviously, because he's going to die, he's going to fall to the ground. When he falls to the ground, he's going to make quite a large thud, because he's quite a big creature, but it is going to be a lifeless one. So he fell to the ground with a dull, lifeless thud. And after all this noise that we've had, it's now going to be very quiet. It's going to be so quiet, in fact, that we could probably hear Theseus's heart beating. But actually, his heart's going to be thumping because he's got all that adrenaline rushing around his body. He's probably quite out of breath. So we're going to be able to hear his heart pounding. We're going to be able to hear that he's rasping for breath. So the only sounds were the thumping of Theseus's heart and his gasping for breath. And now I want a nice short sentence, just say basically, he is now dead. The Minotaur is dead. I don't want to use Minotaur. The Minotaur is dead. Minotaur. What other one have I got? I think I've used a lot of these already, like killer, monster, manslayer. So I'm going to go with terror tyrant. The terror tyrant, rather than is dead, I'm going to go with was no more. So here you can see I've used a range of resources. I've magpied from the original text, I've magpied from Miss Conlon's ideas, I've even magpied from your ideas, the work that's been sent to us from Jojo's. We've shared that among us, and I've magpied from all of those things to make a bank of words so that I could make this very interesting, very pacey. I've thought about those long and short sentences. I've thought about those hyphenated adjectives. I've got some different punctuation in there. You can see I used a semicolon here just to add a range of punctuation to my writing. I've thought about the way I'm starting my sentences so that it's not just Theseus, Theseus, Theseus. I've used a range of nouns to add interest. And I've done all of that, and it has made this scene that's actually very vivid to our reader. So that's why we've done this, to make this vivid scene for our reader. And once you've written that today, tomorrow you're going to be having a little look and you're going to edit and improve. And I mentioned here that actually this would be a section that perhaps I would edit and improve, because maybe I would like to describe a little bit more how we've slashed that creature, how Theseus has slashed that creature, how Theseus reached for his sword. And I'll also, as I'm reading through, check for my punctuation, my spelling. I'll also check to make sure that actually I haven't been too repetitive, because I know I have used Theseus quite a bit in there, and Minotaur quite a bit in there, so I might want to mix it up a little bit. Okay, I cannot wait, and I know the other Year 5 teachers cannot wait to read your versions of this. Okay, I hope you find this useful, Year 5, and I look forward to hearing yours.